In the middle of the galactic trade hub, the bustling spaceport of Xyloc Prime was alive with activity. Merchants from every corner of the galaxy peddled their wares, and the air was thick with the chatter of countless languages. Kara, a young human adventurer with a knack for finding the extraordinary in the mundane, wandered through the maze of stalls and shops. Kara's curiosity led her down a narrow, dimly lit alley she hadn't noticed before. At the end of the alley, a small rundown stall stood almost hidden. It was cluttered with cages and tanks, each containing an assortment of exotic creatures. Kara's eyes fell on a small, trembling creature confined to a rusty cage. Its large, sorrowful eyes met hers, and her heart immediately went out to it. "What's this?" she asked the stall's owner, an insectoid alien named Grix. His multiple eyes glistened with indifference as he glanced at the creature. "Just a worthless animal," Grix replied, his mandibles clicking with disdain. "No one wants it. Weak, useless, it won't survive long." Kara frowned. "How much?" Grix waved a dismissive hand. "Take it. It's not worth anything to me." Kara carefully opened the cage and gently lifted the small creature into her arms. It shivered, but she could feel its tiny heart beating rapidly against her chest. "Don't worry, little one. I'll take care of you." She wrapped the creature in her jacket to keep it warm, and made her way back through the bustling market to her ship, feeling a mix of anger and determination. She couldn't understand how anyone could be so callous toward such a helpless being. Back on the spaceship, the crew gathered in the common area to see what Kara had brought back. Mike, the ship's engineer, scratched his head, looking puzzled. "What is that thing?" "I don't know," Kara admitted, setting the creature down gently on a soft blanket. "But it was going to die if I left it there." Dr. Lila, the ship's medic, knelt beside the creature and began a thorough examination. She frowned as she noted its condition. "It's malnourished and dehydrated. We need to get it some food and water immediately." The creature, though weak, seemed to sense the kindness around it. It gazed up at Lila with wide, hopeful eyes. Mike rummaged through the ship's supplies, finding some nutrient paste and a small bowl of water. "Here," he said, handing them to Lila. "Will this work?" Lila nodded and carefully fed the creature, which eagerly lapped up the water and nibbled at the paste. As it ate, its tiny body visibly relaxed, and the trembling subsided. Kara watched with a mixture of relief and curiosity. "What do you think it is?" Lila shrugged. "Hard to say. I've never seen anything quite like it. But it's clearly intelligent and responsive. It understands we're trying to help." The crew decided to give the creature a name, and after a few suggestions, they settled on Zeke. As days turned into weeks, Zeke began to thrive under their care. He showed a remarkable ability to mimic sounds and seemed to understand complex commands, which only endeared him further to the crew. Captain John, the ship's leader, observed Zeke one day as the creature flawlessly mimicked the sound of the ship's engines. "He's more than just a pet. He's intelligent," John remarked, his tone filled with admiration. Kara smiled, stroking Zeke's soft fur. "I knew he was special." Zeke quickly adapted to life aboard the spaceship, much to the delight of the crew. The little creature explored every nook and cranny of the ship, his curiosity seeming to know no bounds. Kara often found him in unexpected places, from the engine room to the observation deck, always eager to learn and interact with his surroundings. One evening, as the crew gathered for dinner in the common area, Zeke sat on Kara's lap, his eyes wide and bright. The bond between them had grown strong, and he had become an integral part of their daily routines. "Did you see him today?" Mike asked, a grin spreading across his face. "He managed to open the maintenance hatch on his own. I swear he's getting smarter by the day." Captain John chuckled. "He's certainly keeping us on our toes. I've never seen anything like it." Dr. Lila, always observant, added, "There's something about him that's different. He's not just smart, he's almost empathic. He seems to sense our moods and respond accordingly." Kara nodded, stroking Zeke's fur. "He's special, all right. I feel like he understands us more than we realize." As days turned into weeks, Zeke's unique abilities became more apparent. He could mimic sounds perfectly, from the hum of the ship's engines to the voices of the crew. This talent proved to be both entertaining and useful. One day, during a routine systems check, Mike accidentally dropped a tool into a tight space. "Great, just what I needed," Mike muttered in frustration. Zeke, who had been watching nearby, chirped and scurried over. To everyone's amazement, he squeezed into the small space and retrieved the tool with ease. "Thanks, buddy," Mike said, patting Zeke on the head. "You just saved me a lot of trouble." Not everyone in the galaxy was as enamored with Zeke as the human crew. During a routine stop at the bustling space station of Gora 4, the crew encountered a group of hostile aliens known as the Creth. The Creth, a warlike species with a reputation for ruthlessness, immediately recognized Zeke's species and their potential. As the crew disembarked for supplies, Kara noticed a group of Creth soldiers eyeing Zeke with intense interest. She felt a chill run down her spine as their leader, a tall, imposing figure with a scarred face, approached them. "That creature belongs to us," the Creth leader hissed, pointing a gnarled finger at Zeke. "Hand it over." Captain John stepped forward, his expression stern. "He's part of our crew now. He's not going anywhere." The Creth leader sneered, his eyes narrowing. "You don't understand what you're dealing with, human. That creature is more than a pet. It has abilities that we need." John stood his ground, the rest of the crew behind him. "He's one of us, and we protect our own." The tension in the air was palpable as the Creth soldiers drew their weapons. A confrontation seemed inevitable, but the crew was prepared. They had faced danger before, and they were not about to back down now. The spaceport erupted into chaos as the Creth launched their attack. Blaster fire rang out, and the crew fought back with everything they had. Zeke, sensing the danger, emitted a high-pitched sound that disrupted the Creth's equipment, giving the crew a crucial advantage. "Fall back to the ship," John ordered, covering their retreat. Kara clutched Zeke tightly as they ran, dodging blaster fire and debris. The crew managed to reach the ship and quickly took off, narrowly escaping the Creth's clutches. Once they were safely in space, the crew gathered in the common area, catching their breath. Zeke nestled in Kara's arms, his eyes filled with fear and confusion. "Why were they after him?" Mike asked, his voice tinged with anger. Dr. Lila looked troubled. "There's more to Zeke than we realized. We need to find out what makes him so important to the Creth." Captain John nodded. "Agreed. But first we need to make sure we're not followed. Set course for the outer rim. We need time to figure this out." Back on the ship, the crew gathered in the common area, determined to uncover the truth about Zeke. Dr. Lila had been tirelessly researching, using every resource at her disposal to learn more about their mysterious companion. Her face was grave as she called the crew together for a briefing. "I found something," Lila began, her tone serious. "Zeke's species isn't just any ordinary alien. They're called the Thray, and they were bioengineered long ago by an ancient civilization known as the Aeolian." Kara leaned forward, her eyes wide. "Bioengineered for what?" Lila continued. "The Aeolian created the Thray to be peacekeepers. They have unique abilities that can influence emotions and even control minds to some extent. The Creth want to exploit these abilities for their own gain." Mike let out a low whistle. "So they're not just pets. They're powerful." Captain John crossed his arms, his brow furrowed. "If the Creth get their hands on Zeke, they could use him to control entire populations. We can't let that happen." Kara hugged Zeke protectively. "We have to keep him safe. He's not a weapon. He's family." Dr. Lila nodded in agreement. "We need to find a way to protect him and, if possible, find others of his kind. The Thray deserve to live in peace, free from those who would exploit them." As the crew discussed their next steps, Zeke sat quietly, his large eyes filled with understanding. He seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation, and his usual playful demeanor was replaced with a somber resolve. The Creth were relentless in their pursuit. Every time the crew thought they had evaded them, the Creth would reappear, forcing the humans to stay constantly on the move. The tension on the ship was palpable, and the crew grew weary of the constant threat. One evening, as the ship traveled through a dense asteroid field, the alarm sounded, indicating an incoming threat. The Creth had found them again. "They just don't give up, do they?" Mike muttered, taking his position at the controls. Captain John barked orders. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We need to lose them in the asteroids." The ship weaved through the floating rocks, trying to shake off their pursuers. The Creth ships were fast and agile, but the crew's knowledge of their ship and the terrain gave them an edge. Zeke, sensing the danger, began emitting a series of high-pitched sounds that seemed to disrupt the Creth's navigation systems. "What's he doing?" Kara asked, her eyes wide as she watched Zeke. Dr. Lila quickly analyzed the situation. "He's using his abilities to interfere with their sensors. It's giving us an advantage." Mike grinned. "Good job, Zeke. Keep it up." With Zeke's help, the crew managed to navigate the asteroid field, losing the Creth ships in the process. They emerged on the other side, their ship battered but still functional. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief. "That was too close," Captain John said, wiping sweat from his brow. "We need a new plan. We can't keep running like this." Dr. Lila nodded. "We need to find a place where we can make a stand, somewhere the Creth can't reach us easily. And we need to find out if there are others like Zeke. If we can find them, maybe we can get some answers." The crew's journey took them to the remote and reclusive world of Dr. Varda, an enigmatic alien scientist known for her knowledge of ancient civilizations. Her base was located on a hidden moon, shielded by advanced cloaking technology. As the ship landed, the crew felt a mixture of hope and apprehension. Dr. Varda was a tall, slender figure with elongated limbs and piercing, intelligent eyes. Her lab was filled with advanced equipment and artifacts from various civilizations. She greeted the crew with a nod, her expression one of curiosity. "You must be the humans with the Thray," Dr. Varda said, her voice smooth and analytical. "I've heard rumors. Let me see him." Kara gently placed Zeke on the table, and he looked up at Dr. Varda with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. Dr. Varda examined him closely, her eyes widening as she noted his unique features. "Incredible," she murmured. "He's even more remarkable than I expected. The Thray were believed to be extinct." Captain John stepped forward. "We need your help. The Creth are after him, and they won't stop until they have him. We need to understand what makes him so special, and how we can protect him." Dr. Varda nodded thoughtfully. "The Thray were created by the Aeolian to maintain peace through empathy and mind control. Their abilities are powerful, but require careful handling. If the Creth get hold of him, they could use his powers for domination." Mike frowned. "So how do we protect him?" Dr. Varda looked at Zeke, who was now mimicking the sound of her voice. "We need to enhance his natural abilities and find a way to shield him from the Creth's detection. It will take time, but I believe I can help." As Dr. Varda worked on enhancing Zeke's abilities, the crew kept a watchful eye on their surroundings. They knew the Creth wouldn't give up easily. Days turned into weeks, and Zeke's powers grew stronger under Dr. Varda's guidance. He began to demonstrate more control over his empathic abilities, even calming the crew during moments of stress. One night, as the crew gathered for a quiet dinner, an alarm sounded. The Creth had found them. "They're here!" Mike shouted, rushing to the controls. Dr. Varda's eyes narrowed. "We're not ready yet. Zeke's enhancements aren't complete." Captain John made a quick decision. "We need to hold them off long enough for Dr. Varda to finish. Everyone, to your stations." The Creth ships descended on the moon, their weapons firing relentlessly. The crew fought back with everything they had, but the Creth's numbers were overwhelming. Inside the lab, Dr. Varda worked frantically, her hands moving swiftly over the controls as she completed the enhancements on Zeke. Kara stayed by Zeke's side, her heart pounding with fear and determination. "Hang in there, little guy. We're almost there." Outside, the battle raged on. The ship's shields were failing, and the crew was running out of options. Captain John knew they needed to buy more time. "Mike, take the secondary turret and cover the north entrance. Lila, see if you can boost the shield output. We need every second we can get," John ordered. As the crew followed his orders, Zeke began to glow faintly, a sign that Dr. Varda's enhancements were taking effect. The lab's lights flickered, and a low hum filled the air. Dr. Varda looked up, her eyes filled with urgency. "He's ready, but he needs to focus. Kara, he responds best to you. Help him concentrate." Kara nodded, kneeling beside Zeke. "You can do this, Zeke. Just focus on helping us. You're our only hope." Zeke looked at Kara, his eyes filled with understanding. He emitted a soft, calming sound, and the room seemed to pulse with energy. Outside, the Creth soldiers faltered, their movements slowing as if they were walking through thick air. "It's working," Lila exclaimed, her eyes wide with amazement. "He's affecting them." The crew took advantage of the Creth's confusion, launching a counterattack. The Creth ships struggled to maintain their assault, their pilots disoriented by Zeke's influence. Dr. Varda activated a series of shields around the lab, creating a temporary safe zone. Captain John's voice rang out over the comms. "We've got them on the ropes. Push forward." With renewed determination, the crew pressed their advantage. Zeke's powers, now fully enhanced, allowed them to turn the tide of the battle. The Creth, unable to withstand the combined assault of the humans and Zeke's empathic abilities, began to retreat. As the last of the Creth ships fled the moon, the crew let out a collective cheer. They had done it. They had protected Zeke and survived another attack. Kara hugged Zeke tightly, tears of relief streaming down her face. "You did it, Zeke. You saved us." Dr. Varda smiled, her eyes filled with admiration. "He's more powerful than I imagined, but we must be careful. The Creth will return, and they'll be more prepared next time." Captain John nodded. "We need to stay ahead of them, but for now we've won. Let's take a moment to regroup and plan our next move." The respite was short-lived. While the crew regrouped, and Dr. Varda fine-tuned Zeke's abilities, they knew the Creth would not be deterred for long. They devised a plan to draw the Creth into a trap and force them to reveal their true intentions. Captain John gathered the crew and Dr. Varda in the common area. "We can't keep running forever. We need to confront the Creth head-on and find out why they're so desperate to capture Zeke." Mike nodded. "We need to set a trap, make them think they have us cornered." Kara looked at Zeke, who was now a beacon of calm and strength. "But how do we do that without putting Zeke in more danger?" Dr. Varda spoke up. "We can use Zeke's enhanced abilities to create a diversion. We'll make it look like he's somewhere else, drawing the Creth away from our real position." The crew set their plan into motion. They transmitted false signals and planted decoys to mislead the Creth about their location. The final confrontation was set to take place on a desolate moon, known for its treacherous terrain and volatile atmosphere. As the ship approached the moon, the tension was palpable. Zeke, sensing the crew's anxiety, emitted soothing sounds to calm them. The ship landed in a secluded canyon, hidden from immediate detection. The crew set up their defenses, ready for the inevitable attack. The Creth arrived in force, their ships descending like a swarm of locusts. The leader, a towering figure named Zareth, barked orders, confident that victory was within his grasp. As the Creth forces spread out, searching for Zeke, the crew lay in wait, ready to spring their trap. Captain John gave the signal. "Now!" Explosions rocked the canyon as the crew's traps were triggered. Hidden turrets and mines activated, creating chaos among the Creth ranks. In the midst of the confusion, the crew launched their surprise attack, striking with precision and determination. Zeke used his enhanced abilities to disrupt the Creth's communications and sensors, sowing further confusion. The Creth, disoriented and uncoordinated, struggled to mount an effective defense. Kara and Mike fought side by side, their movements synchronized from years of training together. "We've got them on the ropes," Mike shouted over the din of battle. Captain John and Dr. Varda focused on capturing Zareth, knowing that he held the key to understanding the Creth's obsession with Zeke. After a fierce skirmish, they managed to corner the Creth leader. "Why do you want Zeke?" John demanded, his voice cold and determined. Zareth sneered, his eyes burning with hatred. "The Thray possess the power to control minds. With them we can dominate the galaxy. Zeke is the last of his kind, and with him we will be unstoppable." Dr. Varda's face hardened. "You would use his abilities to enslave others. That's why you can't have him." With Zareth captured and the Creth forces in disarray, the crew took a moment to catch their breath. The revelation about Zeke's true nature weighed heavily on their minds. They gathered around Zareth, determined to learn more. Dr. Varda activated a device that projected a holographic map of the galaxy. "Tell us everything you know about the Thray and their connection to the Aeolian." Zareth, bound and defiant, reluctantly began to speak. The Aeolian were an ancient civilization with advanced bioengineering capabilities. They created the Threy to be their peacekeepers, using their empathic and telepathic abilities to maintain order. But when the Aeolian civilization fell, the Threy were left scattered and vulnerable. Kara looked at Zeke, her eyes filled with sympathy. So Zeke is one of the last of his kind. Zareth continued. The Creth discovered ancient Aeolian records that spoke of the Threy's powers. We sought them out, believing they could help us conquer the galaxy. Zeke is the key to unlocking that power. Captain John's jaw tightened. You mean to enslave him and use him as a weapon? Dr. Varda interjected. But Zeke's abilities are not meant for destruction. They're meant for peace and understanding. If used correctly, they could bring harmony, not tyranny. Mike's eyes narrowed. So what do we do now? We can't let the Creth get their hands on him. Captain John made a decision. We need to find a safe place for Zeke, where the Creth can't reach him, and we need to share what we've learned about the Threy and the Aeolian with the rest of the galaxy. Knowledge is the best defense against tyranny. As they prepared to leave the desolate moon, Dr. Varda worked on a plan to protect Zeke's identity and location. We can create a network of allies who can help keep him safe. And we need to find any remaining Threy who might be out there. Together they could rebuild their legacy. The crew agreed, their resolve stronger than ever. They knew the road ahead would be filled with challenges, but they were ready to face them together. Zeke, sensing their determination, emitted a soft, hopeful sound, a promise of better days to come. As the ship lifted off, leaving the moon and the Creth behind, the crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had uncovered a secret that could change the course of history, and they were determined to protect it. With Zeke by their side, they would continue their journey, seeking out allies and standing against those who would exploit the innocent. Captain John looked out at the stars, a steely determination in his eyes. We've won this battle, but the war is far from over. Let's make sure Zeke's legacy is one of peace, not conflict. And with that, the ship soared into the vast expanse of space, a beacon of hope and courage in a galaxy fraught with danger. One night, as the ship drifted through the quiet expanse of space, Kara noticed something odd. The ship's security logs had been tampered with. She immediately brought it to Captain John's attention. Someone's been accessing restricted files, Kara said, her voice tense. And it looks like they've been communicating with the Creth. Captain John's eyes narrowed. We have a traitor on board. Gather everyone in the common area. We need to address this immediately. As the crew assembled, John addressed them with a steely resolve. We have a mole among us. Someone has been feeding information to the Creth, endangering all of us, and most importantly, Zeke. I need to know who it is. A murmur of shock and anger spread through the crew. Dr. Lila's face was a mask of concern, while Mike clenched his fists in frustration. Kara scanned the faces, looking for any sign of guilt. The silence was broken by an unexpected confession. It was me, a voice said quietly. The crew turned to see Jenna, a relatively new crew member, stepping forward, her face pale and eyes downcast. Why? Captain John demanded, his voice a mixture of anger and disappointment. Jenna sighed, her shoulders slumping. The Creth approached me before I joined you. They promised me safety and wealth if I kept them informed. I didn't realize how dangerous they truly were until it was too late. Kara's eyes flashed with anger. You betrayed us and put Zeke in danger for personal gain? Jenna looked genuinely remorseful. I'm sorry. I didn't think it would go this far. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. Captain John exchanged a look with Dr. Varda. We don't have time for this. We need to find out what she told them and how much they know. Mike spoke up. We need to prepare for another attack. The Creth won't stop until they have Zeke. Jenna provided as much information as she could, revealing the extent of her communications with the Creth. The crew worked tirelessly to reinforce their defenses and change their plans to outsmart the Creth. The ship shuddered under the impact of the Creth's weapons. In the chaos, Jenna made a desperate decision to atone for her betrayal. She accessed the ship's communications array and sent a false signal to the Creth, luring them away from the ship. I've bought us some time, Jenna said, her voice shaking. "But they'll realize it's a trick soon enough." Captain John nodded, his expression grim. "We need to get out of here. Mike, plot a course for the nearest safe zone." As the ship navigated through the debris of the battlefield, Zeke, sensing the imminent danger, began to emit a series of complex sounds. The crew watched in awe as the ship's systems responded to Zeke's commands, optimizing their defenses and stabilizing critical systems. But the Creth were closing in. Jenna, realizing there was no other way, made the ultimate sacrifice. She initiated a manual override to decouple a part of the ship, creating a decoy that would draw the Creth's fire. "I'm sorry for everything," Jenna said, her voice heavy with regret. "This is the only way." Before anyone could stop her, she sealed herself in the decoupled section and launched it away from the ship. The Creth, thinking they had found their target, diverted their attack to the decoy, giving the main ship a chance to escape. Kara watched the screen, tears streaming down her face. She didn't have to do that. Dr. Lila placed a comforting hand on Kara's shoulder. "She made her choice. We have to honor it by ensuring Zeke's safety." With the Creth temporarily diverted, the crew managed to reach a safe zone, a hidden asteroid field that provided the cover they needed to regroup and repair. The loss of Jenna weighed heavily on them, but her sacrifice had given them a fighting chance. Captain John addressed the crew, his voice filled with resolve. "We've lost a lot today, but we're still standing. We need to stay focused and continue our mission. Zeke's safety and the future of the Thray depend on us." After narrowly escaping the Creth's assault, the crew sought refuge in a hidden asteroid field known for its treacherous terrain and natural shielding. As the ship nestled among the rocky outcrops, the crew took a moment to breathe and assess their situation. Captain John gathered everyone in the common area. "We've taken a heavy hit, but we're not out of the fight. We need to regroup and figure out our next move. We can't keep running forever." Dr. Varda looked at the holographic map of the galaxy. "We need allies. There are other civilizations out there that would stand with us against the Creth if they knew what was at stake." Mike nodded in agreement. "We also need to repair the ship and enhance our defenses. The Creth will come back, and we need to be ready." Kara sat beside Zeke, who looked up at her with those large, expressive eyes. "Zeke, can you help us again? We need your abilities to keep the Creth at bay." Zeke emitted a soft, affirmative sound, his eyes reflecting determination. He had become an integral part of their strategy, and his unique powers were crucial to their survival. The crew divided their tasks. Mike and Dr. Lila focused on repairing the ship's damaged systems, while Captain John and Dr. Varda worked on reaching out to potential allies. Kara and Zeke concentrated on honing Zeke's abilities, preparing him for the battles ahead. During one of their training sessions, Kara noticed a new ability in Zeke. "Look at this," she said excitedly, as Zeke demonstrated a form of energy manipulation, creating a protective shield around them. Dr. Varda observed with keen interest. "This could be a game changer. If Zeke can protect us and disrupt the Creth's attacks, we might have a real chance." The ship's repairs progressed steadily, but the crew knew they needed more than just physical defenses. They needed to rally support and form a coalition against the Creth's aggression. Captain John sent out encrypted messages to trusted contacts, explaining the situation and calling for assistance. The response was overwhelming. Within days, Allied ships began arriving at the asteroid field, representing various species and factions united by a common cause. The sight of the growing fleet filled the crew with hope and determination. Captain John stood on the bridge, addressing the assembled allies through the ship's communication system. "We stand here today not just to protect one being, but to defend the freedom of all civilizations against those who would use power to enslave and dominate. Together, we can stop the Creth." The fleet set out, moving toward the Creth's stronghold. The journey was tense, but the unity among the diverse group of allies was inspiring. They approached the Creth's base with a sense of purpose, ready to face the enemy head-on. As they neared the stronghold, Zeke used his enhanced abilities to scan the area, identifying weak points in the Creth's defenses. "There," Kara pointed at the holographic display. "If we strike those points, we can breach their shields." The Allied fleet launched a coordinated attack, targeting the identified weak points. Explosions rocked the Creth's base as their shields began to falter. The Creth, taken by surprise by the strength and unity of the Allied forces, scrambled to defend their stronghold. In the midst of the battle, Captain John led a strike team to infiltrate the Creth's command center. Kara, Zeke, Mike, and Dr. Varda were part of the team, each playing a crucial role in the mission. Inside the command center, they encountered fierce resistance. The Creth were determined to protect their leader, Zareth, and maintain control over their operations. The strike team fought their way through, using a combination of strategy and brute force. Zeke played a pivotal role, using his abilities to disorient the Creth soldiers and protect his human family. His empathy and energy manipulation created barriers and disruptions that gave the strike team the upper hand. They finally reached Zareth's chamber, where the Creth leader awaited them, flanked by his elite guards. "You think you can defeat us?" Zareth sneered. "You are mere insects before the might of the Creth." Captain John stepped forward, his eyes cold and determined. "We're not here to conquer. We're here to end your tyranny." The battle that ensued was intense. Zeke's abilities clashed with the Creth's technology, and the strike team fought with everything they had. In a final desperate move, Zareth attempted to use Zeke's powers against the team, but Zeke, strengthened by the bond with his human companions, resisted. With a surge of energy, Zeke created a powerful shield, reflecting Zareth's attack back at him. The Creth leader was thrown back, his guards incapacitated, the stronghold's defenses crumbled, and the Allied fleet moved in to secure the area. Captain John approached the fallen Creth leader. "It's over, Zareth. Your reign of terror ends here." Zareth, weakened and defeated, glared at John. "You may have won this battle, but the Creth will never stop." Dr. Varda stepped forward. "The Creth's tyranny ends today. The galaxy will no longer live in fear." As the Allied forces secured the stronghold and freed those enslaved by the Creth, the crew knew their mission was far from over. They had won a significant victory, but the fight for peace and freedom continued. With Zeke by their side, the crew set their sights on rebuilding and protecting the legacy of the Thray. They would continue to stand against those who sought to exploit power, united by their shared belief in a better future.